7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call. And give your location, please.
Bowers.
Yes.
Our location,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm home in Hastings, Michigan, at my home.
Carrie,
Here, and I'm at home. Hastings.
Jarvis. Mr. Jarvis. Moppenmore,
I'm here and I'm in the city office.
McLean,
Here, Hastings, home.
McNabb Stang,
Here, Hastings, home.
Rezegi,
Here. Chambers, City Hall.
Smith,
Here, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Tassava,
Here. City Hall Chambers. Entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Jarvis. Rezegi, I'll make that motion. Motion by Rezegi, supported by
Carrie,
Moppenmore. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We all rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America,
and
Republic, for which is
under God,
one nation,
I got individual
and just.
for all.
I get a chance to look at the minutes. Oh, excuse me. I'm trying to project. I'm not following myself on my agenda. Approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Bowers, I'll make that motion.
Carrie, support.
Motion by Bowers, supported by Carey to approve the agenda. Roll call.
Carrie,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from March 8th, 2020, or 2021 virtual meeting. Any
Smith makes a motion to approve the minutes and place on file.
motion by Smith? Here's
I'll second it, Bowers.
Second by Bowers. Any discussion? Roll call.
Moppenmore, McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, item 6, open public discussion regarding matters not on the agenda. Is there anybody out there who'd like to speak? I'll give you 3 minutes. Give me your name and you'll have the floor. Anybody? Okay, number 7, proclamations, we have none. Public hearings, none. Formal presentations and requests. We have a request from Gina McMahon, Recreation and Program Director of the YMCA for the summer program. I don't know if Gina is online or not. This is pretty much what they've been doing in the past. So I would entertain a motion to approve under direction of staff.
So moved, Smith.
Supported Rezegi. Motion by Smith, supported by Rezegi. Any discussion? Roll call.
McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we have Allison Troyer Wiswell with us tonight. She wants to give a report on the Blue Zones annual report. Allison?
Hi, all. Jerry, am I able to share my screen?
Should be now.
Okay. Everybody see my screen okay? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for allowing me to have the opportunity to talk to you about all of the great work that's happened over the last year and a couple of months for Blue Zones in Perry County. And I'm just really excited that we are an innovator in the commitment towards improving health, economic development, and the environment for our community. I think you all should have received a copy of our annual report, and I hope you had an opportunity to look over it a little bit. Certainly, there's a wealth of knowledge in there that's been collected over the year, and I'm really extremely proud of the work that we've done to date, especially considering that we've been in the midst of a global pandemic. So today I'd like to walk you through our timeline to date, talk about some of the key highlights from the past year and few months, and then I'd like to take some time to hear from you all if you have questions, how the work to date speaks to you, and then also if there are things that come to mind for each of you that aligns with other work that you're doing within the community. I would love to hear that as well. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about our 4D process. You can see that to the right of the screen. We walk through the 4D process as we're doing Activate to be very purposeful and intentional about the process that we take. So we start with discovery and then go into develop, design, and deploy. Sorry. In discovery, we were so lucky that we hadn't gotten into COVID yet at that time. And so we were able to have both of our experts in built environment and food systems come in person and spend several days with us both. Sorry, somebody's entering the waiting room. I'm going to admit them. I'm assuming that's what I'm supposed to do, yes?
Maybe.
Anyway, so they came and were in Berry County from October and November of 2019 and produced the discovery reports showing the assets that we have in place in our community and giving recommendations or further suggestions about things we could do to improve. And then we moved into our phase of development, and that was between May and August of 2020. And at that time, then, of course, we had hit COVID. And so it was online platforms of virtual learning around built environment concepts like complete streets, like safe routes to school, like planning and zoning codes. And then in food systems, it was things like what a food policy council might do. Also thinking about how the hunger relief system was affected by COVID and looking at supply chain development and how we support local food systems. And then we held summits in August and September of 2020. And we did those virtually, and we're really pleased with the attendance that we got and the participation that we got. And it was really, really neat to see people starting to form those group ideas in small groups through talking about the various things that came up as priorities for the community. And then in September of 2020, we received both of those reports. And then October through the end of the year, we were working on what did those action teams look like, who was in those action teams, what action plans were going to be developed. And that took us through till 2021. So I think I just sort of alluded to it, but one of the coolest things that I saw that happened within these gatherings, some in person and some virtually, were that people were coming together that were, you know, champions of these different areas, but had never met each other before. And we're so inspired to see this person is just as passionate as I am about trails, or is an avid cyclist, or really cares about the food systems and our farmers. but then just had never had connection. So that was really cool. And then the other piece that was really cool to watch was how those ideas merged together and started to build upon each other as we think about various agencies in the community and how a collaborative effort could be so much more powerful. So that was really fun to see. So I'd just like to talk briefly about some of the highlights of priorities that came up in the summits for both built environment and food systems. First, but certainly, was the trails. So trails were the number one thing that people said, we love our trails. And I think now in the time of COVID more than ever, people are out exploring trails, understanding the valuable asset that we have in our community and how many trails we have. And I think, though, that this is the first time really that Berry County trail advocates have collectively sat around the table together to collaborate and talk about a countywide trail plan. So it's worth noting that that received the most amount of votes in terms of a priority in terms of built environment was the trails. And then we know that connected access throughout the hubs of our communities, particularly Hastings, as it's the most populated area of our county, is desirable for so many reasons. It allows community members the opportunity to consider how they can commute to their desired destination safely. So they could walk, or they could bike, or they could take their automobile. And it also offers opportunity to have natural movement throughout your day. Then you think about things like walking through a downtown versus driving. I think you see a lot more things. You may pop into some downtown stores that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise had you been driving through to just that one destination. So the idea that you encourage people to come park and do 5 different things in the community and get some natural movement throughout. So I know that when I'm walking through the downtown, I notice storefronts and I notice things that I just wouldn't have noticed while I was driving. So I think encouraging that piece can really help to boost our downtown and have people continuing to come down. And I just want to say I am a fan of the social district idea because I think that will be great as well. And then, you know, I think we live in a small community because we generally like each other. We like to run into each other and say hi and how you doing? And even if it is at a 6-foot distance, I know that my spirits are lifted when I am out walking and I can see other people and check in with them.
Because I want to. Don't give me a bottle of water, please.
Thinking about complete streets here and the connectability that, you know, you have bike lanes and parking and sidewalks so that things are accessible all the way throughout. Of course, we're home to one of the largest gravel road races. Everybody knows that, the Barrie-Roubaix. This event is such an opportunity, I think, for us to bring tourism dollars into our community, and not just once a year, but several times a year, because people come in and they do their practice runs. They want to run the course and see how it's going. And so I think, you know, we can really set ourselves up to become a place that people want to come and stay. They want to bike and park and go get a bite to eat. So I think, as Mark Fenton says, it needs to meet you and greet you if you're coming by bike or foot as well as car. And so I think that is a great concept. And they say a lot of times, you know, cyclists are out and they're going to a destination. They're going for beer, ice cream, or coffee. And so thinking about making it really easy and accessible, I think encourages those avid cyclists to keep coming back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then complete streets really goes hand in hand with thoughts around safe routes to school and thinking about ways to keep our kids healthy and primed for learning and keeping them safe. So, and even in rural communities, satellite drop-off locations can be established to allow for some additional physical activity for kids on their way to and from school. And programmatically, schools can create things like walking school buses where they have adults at the front and back end of the line to escort the children to school. Things like allowing walking and biking kids to leave a few minutes earlier than those getting picked up can encourage kids to want to do that desired activity. And can also lessen the automotive transportation needs and increase the safety in that area of drop off and pickup. as we all know, that can get a little bit congested at times. There's great pride in our local and regionally produced foods. Maggie, our food systems expert, took note of the many farm stands throughout the county selling their locally produced goods. And I don't know if you know, didn't know this until I got into this work, but Michigan is the second in terms of the variety of crops that we can produce, only topped by California. And so for that reason, Maggie was saying she's so excited to work with us because we really have such a great variety and a great opportunity in our food production. During COVID, we saw breaks in the national food chain supply, and we saw increased demand for food produced closer to home. People were starting to think, where can I get this if I can't get it at the grocery store? Sprout is a local aggregator from Battle Creek that delivers food boxes up to Ann's Health Food Stores, and they were also delivering to businesses prior to COVID around the area. Their box subscriptions increased by 600% during COVID. Some statistics stood out in terms of rates of obesity and diabetes in the county and the lack of healthy options as compared to unhealthy options for fast, affordable food. In our Food Systems Summit, the top area of priority was to develop a food as medicine program through Spectrum Health Pennock. And Spectrum Health Pennock's nutrition director, Eric Ross, was sharing a story about his mother who had gone through a food as medicine program to help her with her chronic disease, and how important that was for her to really understand how powerful certain foods can be for chronic disease, and also to have that educational component to learn how to use and cook those foods so that they taste good as well. I think that story was really powerful for folks, especially because it was his mother, and he, really felt the story he was telling, and people really wanted that proper educational resource around healthy cooking and accessibility. Berry County has many wonderful programs in place to help with hunger relief in various areas of the county. However, a constant recurring theme that we heard over and over again was about concern for areas that were more rural in the county and their potential lack of access to healthy foods. We heard the idea of a mobile food pantry concept come from employees at the South Michigan Food Bank, as well as the YMCA of Berry County. And we would like to really dig a little deeper and get a clearer understanding of what that need is, and to take steps forward to provide solutions. So additionally, we'd like to partner this with SNAP and WIC educational materials and assistance to promote utilization of those available resources that people may not know how to connect to. So we're in the process currently of a landscape analysis to really understand a bit more granularly the areas of the county that maybe are not utilizing services and why. Another discussion priority area was the opportunity for school gardens to bring to help improve school-aged students' knowledge base about their foods, where they come from, how to grow them, produce them, and what, why they're healthy, what nutritional value they provide. At Delton Kellogg schools, they already have school gardens, but they're really looking to have some help in terms of building some school curriculum around the gardens, and also to incorporate some of what they're producing into the cafeteria offerings. And so that was one that people really liked as well. And of course, in Michigan, thinking about the grow season and how you extend the grow season, because often your gardens are being picked and done by the time school gets into session. And so thinking about how do you do that with hoop houses or greenhouses so that you can extend and really have hands-on experience for your students. In our food system sector work, we were able to hold our marquee charrette, where we had community leaders discuss and prop up a marquee that they were most excited about. The two options that we talked about were creating an agritourism route around the county to highlight areas of accessed local produce foods. The second option was to move forward to explore the possibility of creating an integrated community food center by conducting a feasibility study. Further exploration of the community food center was chosen by the large majority, like 75% of the participants really thought that was the way to go. And the vision of that is one that just kept growing in the discussion space. So thinking about the possibility of currently Meals on Wheels food prep goes outside of the county. And so Tammy Pennington had said that that dollar amount could be, brought into the county if there was space somewhere to do that food prep. So we thought that was a real opportunity. And then having classroom or teaching space for Spectrum Health Pet if we prop up a food as medicine program and also Cooking Matters classes through MSU Extension. We talked about incubator space. So for those that are interested in starting up a small food business, but don't really know where to get started or don't have the capital to have a landing point, this is somewhere that they can start to gain some dollars to be able to then grow and transition into a permanent space. Aggregator space. So in the food distribution that I've done with the Y, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that we just don't really have anywhere where we have good cold storage space. And so there were often opportunities where you could say, if we could just store this food somewhere for a day or two, we could then get it over here. But there really isn't that place. And so I do think that that may be great for utilizations like that, but also thinking about an aggregator space for farmers to use to be able to wholesale products to get them out regionally. That's something that Sprout does. And I think, we could easily create a hub in Hastings that could really give our farmers opportunity to have a greater sales realm and also to get some time back. So that's another thought. And then I would love to see some quick, healthy takeout food options there, as well as year-round farmers market access. So these were all possibilities that the group was discussing, and people were getting more and more energized as we talked. So in terms of our priorities, we talked about in built environment, the countywide trail plan. That group's being championed by Catherine Getty and Jennifer Antel. And you may not be familiar with the name Jennifer Antel, but she works for West Michigan Trails Association. So she's very familiar with our trails and is a great regional asset for that team. And then the Complete Streets policy piece is being championed by Brian Urquhart and Nicole Like. The Safe Routes to School plan, Nashville was really excited about going forward with that, and that's being championed by Brian Green. We have not done our marquee charrette yet for built environment. We are wanting to develop those trail projects and then have a survey go out in the next month to get people's feedback about which things they think should be those top priorities. And then the marquee charrette would be more about developing a work plan for those priorities that were identified. So I will definitely keep you all in the loop when that comes out and would love your feedback and input about those. And then in food systems, the Community Food Center feasibility study that's championed by Carla Wilson-Neal, the hunger relief initiatives around mobile feeding, as well as SNAP and WIC, that's being championed by Allison Hinton of the Y. The school gardens piece is at Dalton Kellogg, that is being championed by Rhonda Lundquist. And then the culinary medicine program is Janine Dahlman and myself. And then last but not least, Maggie really felt like it was, and Maggie as our food systems expert, felt that it was important to prop up a food policy council. And that is being held under the Be Healthy Coalition piece. And so we're just starting that as well, talking about what those priorities will be. Prior to COVID, we packed rooms with people wanting to volunteer and participate in Blue Zones. And so this was at the Hastings Public Library. It was standing room only. People were standing at the doors. And so my heart hurts that we got sort of shut down and weren't able to continue this amount of enthusiasm, but we then knew we had to pivot and figure out some way to keep connected with community and let the community know that we weren't stopping the work that we were doing because of COVID. And so an opportunity arose in May where Lanny Forbes contacted me and she said, I've gotten these huge amounts of seeds from Walmart. Do you think there's some way that we could distribute these safely to people because it's, growing seems like a garden seems like a really like key thing for Blue Zones, and this would be great if we could get them out. So we decided what we would do would be to prop up mailboxes throughout the county. I know somebody at the lumberyard, so who sells mailboxes. So we quickly in a week put some beautiful lettering on them. We distributed them to the libraries around the county, and we packed 250 seed packets and got those out. And then following that, it was like, well, we have these mailboxes, like let's utilize them. And so we've been thinking of quarterly things to put in the mailboxes as a way to get people thinking about Blue Zones and thinking about what the next thing might be in the mailboxes. We did next these little blue dogs, stress dogs, and we did it as a social media campaign before our October community event. And people sent in pictures of themselves doing healthy things with their blue dogs. And it just was really a nice thing and gave us some great pictures. We also did the produce distribution in the summer at the high school, and that was well attended. We gave out tons of fresh produce and everybody was so grateful. And so I think, it was a really great opportunity for us to partner with the USDA Farm to Families program. We had the community event in October, and of course, this was a virtual event again, which, we were disappointed that we couldn't be in person, but we had 84 people come to the virtual event. So I thought that was a pretty decent turnout for a virtual turnout. And this is just one page of the people, but we had a great time, and it was really a nice highlight to show all the things that we've been working on. And that's on our Facebook page in case anybody wants to go back and watch. We did some giveaways. We had totes and books from Dan Buettner. People like those. And then I don't know if you've seen, but there's a Blue Zones bus driving around, and Blue Zones in partnership with the Be Healthy Coalition paid to wrap the bus. And I cheer every time I see it on the road. So I just think it's really a beautiful bus, and I think it does call attention to, and it gets to go all around the county. So I thought that was a great thing. So in closing, I just am really proud of all the work that we've done to date. And now we are in this, deployment phase where we're really starting to implement the work. And I'm just really excited for what's to come for our community. So with that being said, I will open it up for any questions, discussion. Love to hear your input. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Anybody have any questions for Allison? Don?
I do, Your Honor. I have a question. Allison, can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. I think that the cold storage, when you mentioned cold storage, that I'm really curious what that impact would be for the community, not only for agricultural, but for extra food or donated food that people bring in. I think that's like a very interesting topic. And I'm surprised that we actually don't have a facility in the county that you mentioned that. But my question to you is for the Blue Zones initiative for Berry County, what's like a few like immediate or long-term needs that you could tell us that you guys are leaning towards from maybe the city or other communities in Berry County?
Well, I think the community food center is sort of that big thing that we're looking at in terms of, and Hastings would be the only place we would want to put that just based on our population, that we're the county seat. And I think the other big thing is really the connecting the trails, thinking about all the trails, right? And so how they intersect and what might be these sort of connected pieces that aren't seen before you overlay them all, right? For opportunity. I think we can really capitalize on that in terms of for ourselves, of course. I think we want to build it for ourselves, but also I think it also encourages people to want to come our way, right?
I agree. I'd like to see some more trails too as well. It seems like we made a lot of movement in trails for years, and then it kind of like got put on the back burner a little bit. But
Like-
also, I think that cold storage facility or something that would support that is a really good idea. So
I
I'm
think
curious
it's
to see how that'll play out.
You know, none of the ideas are new ideas, like it all came from us, right? It is just
Right.
that I think that Blue Zones is giving it the momentum it needs to really move forward. So I think they all have been discussed, but we just haven't gotten the like, okay, let's go. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, hey, thank you very much. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Allison.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, recommendation from other boards, we have none. Ordinances, second reading and consider adoption of ordinance number 597 to amend the permitted uses of the D1 industrial district to include commercial recreation facilities. I hear a motion to approve this ordinance.
Rezegi, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Rezegi. Do I hear support?
McNabb Stang, I support it.
Supported by McNabstain. Any questions, discussion? Hey, roll call.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
yes,
Moppin-More, McLean,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 12, resolutions, we have none. Appointments, consider Mayor Thompson's appointment of Rosemary Anger as an alternate member to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2023. And you might wonder why this doesn't say 2024. This is actually the second year of 3-year term. For the first, this is the second year. You understand what I'm saying? Anyhow, Rosemary got a hold of us last week. She filled out an application. I think should be a welcome addition to the ZBA board. And do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Moppin-More to approve appointment of Rosemary Anger. Do I hear support?
Rezegi, support.
Supported by Rezegi. Any discussion? Roll
So
call.
she's finishing out the 3-year term,
Right,
which only has 2 years left.
right.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Well, the only objection I have is I think going out into the county to get people for the city positions is not the right thing to do.
Well, Don, her address.
She lives in the city.
Street, so I think.
It's been,
Did you hear me, Don? Anyhow, we have motion and support. Roll call.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
yes,
Carrie,
yes,
Moppin-More,
yes,
McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Bids, contracts, agreements, and sales, we have none. City manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet is the report from Chief Pratt. And I know Chief Pratt is on the call as well. So if anybody has any questions for him. All right, thanks, Jeff, for your report. Also in your packet is the report from Jane from the Clerk Treasurer's Department. Jane's on the call as well, so if anybody has any questions for her.
This is McNabb Stang. I'd like to, I guess it's a finance question, so I'd like to direct something to Jerry, I guess, as opposed to Jane. but she's involved, I'm sure. I'm very disappointed in the lack of communications coming out of the city manager's office. When we have to rely on reading in the paper items that are coming up, I think that just looks very bad when somebody in the city asks us a question and we've not heard about it, but it has appeared in the paper. To date, we have not gotten an email from Jerry or Jane about the funds that are coming from the federal government. Yeah, there were articles there, but for a subscription to the newspaper, I still wouldn't know about it. So I think it really doesn't bode well. Then I also have an issue with the fact that previously the city manager and the clerk treasurer advised that we could spend some of the $300,000 that we had over because we weren't going to need it, because we had that wasn't used previous year, because we didn't need it. And then it says in the paper that we have to look and make projections about where we're going to have shortfalls. And I would have thought that would have been done when we were looking at spending the $300,000, not just when we get to have this money. I think we're getting really bad at communicating and really bad at knowing what our budget is and following our budget and understanding where we're going to be impacted. And I think we need to improve that substantially.
Brenda, can I respond to you for a minute?
Yes, go right ahead. I'm done.
$700,000 Wednesday afternoon. I don't know how the paper got the information before we got it. I happened to be on a meeting with the municipal league last Monday, and they talked about it. Next thing they had no idea what communities were going to get. So Wednesday, I got a call from a reporter that wants to know what we're going to do with the $700,000 that I hadn't heard a thing about. And I think the problem here isn't with the clerk treasurer's office or the city manager. I think it's with the state of Michigan, the federal government.
Well, it's still between Wednesday and Monday, and there's still been no communication about it. So if you found out about it on Wednesday and Jerry found out about it enough for them to print it up and put it in the paper, why didn't an email go out then?
No, I apologize for that. I don't know.
You don't, Mr. Mayor, you don't have to apologize for that. That is heard. And hopefully, with the meeting that you have tomorrow night in preparation for the next city manager, these are things that will be brought up to make sure that those are addressed moving forward. I will work on it for the next month that I'm in this position.
I still think it's not fair to chastise people when they're working their tail off. You've had numerous occasions come in and talk to them and you refuse to do it. Unless there's something free here, you come in and get that. But I really think you need to come in and talk to these people. Better understand what they're doing. When you can't do it on Zoom meeting.
When I can do it without risking my life, I'll do it. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Jane on the information? All right, thank you for the report, Jane. Also in your packet is a report from Dan from the Community Development Department. Dan, are you on the call?
Yes, Jerry.
Okay, all right. I didn't see it pop up there. You are. Okay, so Dan's on the call, so I don't know if anybody has any questions for him. I'm trying to get to his report here so you can see that. And then I'll pull it over. But does anybody have any questions from what they saw on Dan's report?
I do have one question. I'm trying to pull it up too. Where are we at with the redevelopment ready community status?
I had a virtual meeting with Julia Turnbull from the RRC last Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. I don't recall exactly what date. The MEDC has rolled out RRC 2.0. And my discussion with Julia from the MEDC last week was in regards to that revamped redevelopment ready communities 2.0. There's certain aspects of the previous RRC program that they're eliminating, and there's a portion of the RRC 2.0 that they're actually going to do at the back end with the municipalities participating in the RRC for collaborating so that they can finish panel 6 off. So I had a good discussion with Julia about next steps, and I actually checked off a couple more panels after my discussion with her last week. She is going to provide the city an updated progress report that I'll be able to share with City Council and Planning Commission.
Awesome. That's great news. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dan? All right, well, thanks for your report, Dan. Mr. Mayor, that ends my report.
Okay. Item 16, consent items without individual discussion. As always, like I've always said, let me go through all these and we'll come back if you have any questions. And ask. First item, invoices, Autolytics, $12,641.19. It's a contract for April 2021. Morton Salt, $7,837.28 for bulk safety salt. Grand River Construction, $704,016.15. Coochie's Builders, $78,408 for the rehab at Helder's project over here. Evangeline Specialties Incorporated, $9,675. Decorative lights for lamp poles downtown. A1 Asphalt, $6,160 for patching. Another bill, A1 Asphalt, $9,900 for patching 2 areas. Wickham Cemetery Care, $6,937.50 for cemetery maintenance. Hummelroth and Clark, $18,556.83 for the wastewater treatment plant professional services. Hummelroth and Clark Incorporated, $12,525.12 for wastewater treatment plant professional services. Draft minutes, the Rutland Charter Township, City of Hastings Joint Planning Commission. And item C, events calendar for March and April 2021. Anybody want to pull any of those items, discuss them?
Yeah, I'd like, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I have a question, Mayor. Analytics, $12,641.19 for the month of April. Is this an ongoing thing? So is that what we're going to be paying per month from here out?
That was part of the maintenance that you guys agreed on for going to the new technology.
For the what?
For the new technology.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk about the Evangeline Specialties, the light,
Go ahead.
the lights that are downtown. I'm not sure I understand, or I guess I need clarification about the purchase and the policy and procedure behind that. I thought anything over $5,000 would have to come to council. And again, I'm new at this, so, help me through the process. And I'm just curious about if there was any DDA input about that purchase. And I will say, does anybody know that that's like a holiday? It's a holiday decoration. So is it intended to be up all year? And did that also include installation costs? Because I don't think it did based on the invoice. And yeah, I need some clarification.
So first off, the design, while it did come from a holiday company, the intent behind it was to be nondescript so that it could be up year round when we didn't have our Christmas decorations. The DDA have input on it. No, they did not. It was something that was, again, as I mentioned in the email, that I pulled together to try to spruce up the downtown. It is over the 5,000, which yes, is an amount that should have gone to council. This was a project that was utilizing money that was in the community service budget line item because we did not have some of the events that we normally have in the downtown. And as far as the installation, it was done as part of the DPS normal day, much like we do Barry Roubaix, Gus Macker, that kind of stuff. When our DPS crew works on those things during the work day, it's not a charge that we give to those events. So the installation was done by the DPS crew as part of their regular workday. So in that case, much like if we, well, with the hot patch trailer that you guys approved, we now just purchase the asphalt. It's a supply cost. We don't have a labor cost because it already fits into their daily 8 hours that they put in. We keep it within that time. I think, Jackie, is there any other questions that you asked in that list that I didn't touch?
No, but when I looked it up, that specific scroll is a holiday Christmas item listed on their website. So
That's exactly right, Jackie. What I did is I went to them. I asked for them for the one that was the most neutral, call it. We had looked into the idea of doing a design and having somebody design it, but the cost for that was a lot more than getting something that was prefab. So yes, it is on their holiday design.
yeah, I'm just gonna say also, I'm sad and I'm somewhat disheartened and a little bit embarrassed as a council person during a pandemic that we spent that much money on lights that were unnecessary, that depict a holiday when we could have been creative using that money to help downtown businesses. Yeah, again, I will reiterate back to
for downtown businesses.
this comment about the communication, and it's sad and it's frustrating and embarrassing. And somebody, apparently that someone in quotations was obviously influential, that had said that we, you know, it would be a good idea if we had lights downtown. You know, that suggestion in spending that much money, and I'm trying to, as a council person, engage our community with one click of a button to live stream our meeting to Facebook, and we can't do that, and it doesn't cost any money. I'm just sad. I'm sad about it all. So but I'm assuming there's nothing we can do about it now, so.
Take them now, that's what you want to do.
Well, I guess I would like everybody else's input. I mean, is that beautification of our downtown? Is that non-descriptive? Or is it confusing? And is it, I don't know. If it was me, yeah, I'd take them down. But it's not about me. It's about collectively us having a voice.
My comment is, I believe, if I'm not correct, that somebody should correct me on this, but I think that we've been discussing lighting up the downtown a little bit later at night, some way or another, for the past couple of years. And this is one answer that we came up with to do this, was to light up the downtown. I honestly think it looks nice, no matter whether it represents snow, winter, spring, I don't care. It still brightens up the downtown. It looks nice.
You know, comment? Or we move on?
I've had lots of great comments about them. I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about them, so, and no one's called me and said, how did we spend the money? And we're upset about it. So I've not heard from anybody else. in the community.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody want to pull anything else on this list? I do have one correction on the event calendar at the end.
Excuse me, I have one more thing to pull, but I also have a comment on the lights.
Go ahead.
I didn't realize I was muted. I have a problem, first of all, with spending $300 for each light. But also the fact that aren't we in the midst of looking at a new streetscape and whether this is even going to fit into that? Was that even considered before spending this kind of money on something that may or may not be reusable in that environment? We start going down one way and then this comes out of the blue and I'm upset with it as well. So
Have you seen
those
the
are my comments on the lights. But you know, you've spent $10,000 now that we can't get back. So, and I do agree that something needs, you know, doing something to brighten up downtown is a good idea, but we should talk about it. It shouldn't just be done because
Right.
somebody on the street makes the suggestion. We don't run what we do in the city by one person. Whether, you know, somebody giving me feedback and I pass it on, I don't expect one person's comment to result in us making a change like that or an expenditure like that. But the other item I wanted pulled was the Wickham Cemetery. I was just wondering if we could know how they've been doing. I know that they're new to doing our cemetery this year, and I was wondering how they've been doing. What kind of a job they've been doing.
Been here a while, but I think Jane can probably give a report on that. I think they're doing that.
Yes. Sir, would you like me to give a report? Mayor?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is their third year of being here. The reports I get about our cemetery is it has never looked more beautiful. They do an excellent job. Everyone is extremely ecstatic with them, including the funeral homes and the monument companies in our local area. They're very great to work with. They're very responsive, and I have not had one problem since I've started here working with them.
Great to hear. Thank you,
Thank
Jane.
you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. The correction I have is on the March calendar. It calls for the LDFA meeting at 3 o'clock on the 25th. At our last meeting, we changed our time back to 8 a.m. in the morning. So if you're looking at the calendar, you're planning on being at that meeting, you're gonna be late. That meeting is at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Also, our meeting tomorrow is not on that calendar as well. But
Could you say that again, Mayor? I didn't quite hear you very good.
The LDFA meeting that's on the calendar for March 25th, it's on the calendar at 3 p.m. We changed the time at the last meeting of the LDFA to 8 a.m. in the morning. That's what it's always been. We changed
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it, but it just didn't work out for everybody, so we moved it back to 8 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
So that change also applies to the April 22nd?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I was looking at March, but yeah, you're right, it does.
and it doesn't have our meeting on there for tomorrow. So it's a great opportunity to remind everybody we have a meeting tomorrow night from 6 to 8.
And I am gonna tell them that. Hey, actually, a motion to accept and place consent items A through C on places on file, approved. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved, McNabb saying.
Smith, support.
Supported by who?
Smith.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Mop and Moore,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
City attorney report.
I have nothing for council tonight.
Legislative director's report.
Nothing for council tonight.
Okay. Open public discussion from the floor. Anybody out there want to address the council? Give us your name and you have 3 minutes. Okay, mayor and council comment. I'll go first. I want to remind everyone that we're having a meeting tomorrow night at the workshop with a representative from the Michigan Municipal League. We're going to be talking about qualifications and to replace our city manager. That's at 8 o'clock. That's at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8. And I'd really like to have as many people in person as possible. She wants to put up sticky notes on the wall and all this stuff during our discussion. And I think that a lot of that be lost on the Zoom meeting. So as many people as can get here as possible. I don't know if you noticed tonight, but we are sitting, the 3 of us that are in here are sitting 12 foot apart. All these chairs are 6 foot apart. I think if we have a meeting tomorrow night and have masks on, we'll be fair.
Really?
You know, if you don't feel comfortable coming, Brenda's already notified me she's not gonna be here, and that's fine. I just, I don't know how it's gonna work out with a Zoom meeting, but we'll provide everybody with what they need. And I had Rusty send out, different papers over the last week, a lot of different questions on. Hopefully, you get a chance to fill those out before tomorrow night. You can refer back to them. Anybody on the council want to make a comment?
I want to say something. I love the new playground equipment at Fish Hatchery Park.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor, I want to say something, Smith. I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow, but I think it's really important that the council and the staff and the city manager and the mayor, that we all communicate well with each other, even if we have differences of opinions on different line items in the agenda. I think it's important that we listen to what each other say, and that we should especially do that in the search for the new city manager, so that it's done correctly. That's going to be really important. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Consider closed session as permitted by Public Act 267 of 1976, Section 15.268-8C for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement. Entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Rezegi, I'll make that motion.
Mop and Moore, I'll support.
Motion by Rezegi, supported by Mop and Moore to go into closed session. Oh, no, roll call.
Hold on, can I explain to everybody how it's gonna work before we do the roll call? So what will happen is the members of the council that are here in chambers will go into the conference room, just like when we have a closed session. The members that are joining us virtually, in a moment here, I will be giving you an invitation to come into a breakout room, so that you can then participate in there. It'll just be the people that are in the conference room. One of the things that will be asked per the policies that council approved going into closed session is, once you get in there, if you're in the meeting virtually, the mayor will go around the room and ask if you are in a room by yourself, so that it is still a closed session. It still needs to be under the closed session rules, where nothing that can be shared out of there, that discussion, that kind of stuff. So that will happen. So it'll take a few minutes to do the switch. Those of you who are not participating in the council closed session. This meeting will stay open. You're more than welcome to stay, wait for them to come back. The council does have to come back into chambers here to adjourn the meeting and to make any decisions that may come out of that discussion. So if you want to stay and sit on the meeting, you can do that. If you are done with what you have or you want to share with the meeting, you can leave the Zoom meeting as well. You don't have to wait. So after the roll call, it'll be a few minutes and I'll pull everybody into the closed session.
Roll call.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith. Mr. Smith. Tassava,
Yes.
motion carried. Carrie,
Yes, Jane.
Tassava,
Yes.
motion carried.
Before we adjourn, I want to remind everybody about the meeting again tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, 6 to 8. If you can be here, I sure would appreciate it. If you can, I understand. We'll try to make it usable for you on the Zoom meeting. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by, excuse me,
Residue support.
supported by Rezegi. Roll call.
You're killing me. McLean,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes, Jane.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
Tassava,
Yes.
motion carried.
Everyone, meeting adjourned.